Our next reader is Craig Levin. Craig is an award-winning author of dark contemporary fiction with a comedic tinge. His debut novel sold over 11 copies to his immediate family. Craig had a little more success with his second novel, The Exit Man, which won the 2015 Independent Publishers Award, a.k.a. an IPPY, and was recently optioned by Showtime for development into a TV series, which was exciting. Greg's third novel, Sick to Death, is being hailed by critics everywhere as one of the top 3 books he has ever written. Author Craig Clevenger, The Contortionist Handbook, calls the book a tour de force dark comedy, and it just won a 2017 IPPY Award. Greg plans on wearing nothing but his 2 IPPY medals while finishing up his next novel, In Wolf's Clothing, which he is currently workshopping with none other than the legendary Chuck Palahniuk. See, I'm going to pronounce this.
I just learned how to pronounce his favorite author, Palahniuk.
Palahniuk. Oh, it's much easier.
You actually started it right.
Chuck Palahniuk, Fight Club et al. The book is due out late summer, early fall 2017. All right, please help me to welcome Craig Levin.
I got to see you with my reading glasses in public for the very first time. I just realized my vision is horrible and officially old. Oh yeah. I can't look up because you're all blurry, but the words look great. All right. So I'm actually going to be reading from both novels, short excerpts from each. First one is going to be The Exit Man, which is, I won't tell you what it's about. Well, a little bit of it's basically a guy who takes over his father's party supply store reluctantly and ends up leading a kind of a secret double life that will kind of come clear as I read. My client smiles at me as I slip the clear plastic bag over his head. After fastening the bag around his neck using the Velcro straps, I take the tube that extends from the controlled release nozzle of the helium tank beside his armchair and place the end of the tube into the small hole in the bag. I use a couple of pieces of duct tape to make sure that where the tube enters the bag is airtight. Comfortable, I ask? 2 thumbs up and another smile. I place one of my gloved hands on his knee and smile back. I'm ready if you are, I say. Another thumbs up and a nod. I give the valve atop the helium tank nozzle a quarter turn counterclockwise to start the release of gas. A.k.a, I say. It's Latin for hail and farewell. It's my standard closing. My client clasps his hand in front of him, smiles again and mouths, "Thank you," through the plastic bag before closing his eyes. I pick up the copy of Arthur Rimbaud, The Complete Works, that's lying on the end table near my client. Sit down on the folded chair next to him and begin reading from page 219 as previously instructed. Rimbaud has never been my cup of tea, but this reading isn't about me. Besides, I won't be reading very long. My client will be sound asleep in less than a minute, dead in 5. 4 pages into the prose poem, A Season in Hell, my client's right arm twitches and his head falls forward. He could still just be sleeping, though it's unlikely. I'm a slow reader. Not only that, about 1 minute in, I couldn't resist giving the valve another quarter turn. It's always a bit difficult to get a clear read on a pulse while wearing surgical gloves. Yet it's far too risky to remove them in these situations. I check my client's left wrist and detect nothing. I give it another couple of minutes, which is about all the Rimbaud I can take. After another pulse check reveals no signs of life, I start to undo the Velcro straps of the plastic bag. I turn off the gas valve, remove the tape and rubber tube from the bag, and slowly remove the bag from my client's head. Just to be sure, I check the carotid artery. Not a single blip on the radar screen as far as I can tell. Delivery complete. After executing my client's exit strategy, it's time to execute mine. First, I place Rimbaud in my client's lap, wondering if the latter's death will be attributed to poetic asphyxiation. I then stuff the helium tank, the plastic bag, and the tube into my Army surplus duffel bag. which I zip up and leave over by my client's front door. I go back to the den, retrieve the folded chair, return it to the closet from which it came, and then conduct one final inspection to ensure that I've covered all my tracks. All looks good, at least from my perspective. Ask my client's wife what she thinks when she returns home from work in about 3 hours, and you'll likely get an entirely different answer. I snap off my surgical gloves and lycra skull cap and place them in a duffel bag by the door. I then pull out a pair of regular leather gloves and a Yankees cap from one of the side pockets, and I put them on. I hoist the duffel bag up onto my shoulder, pull my cap down low over my eyes, and open the front door. Not a neighbor in sight. I step out into the crisp October afternoon and start walking toward my car, which is parked 3 streets away. I'm now just a harmless guy taking a nice stroll, toting a bag, stopping every so often to admire the squirrels, smiling the friendliest smile I can muster at any automobile that happens to drive by. Sure, some overly suspicious neighborhood snoop might be eyeing me through her kitchen window and wondering who I am, but I look inconspicuous enough. By the time any neighbor gets word of my client, I'll be nothing but a ghost, a fuzzy figment, if remembered at all. Suicide should come with a warning label. Don't try this alone. If you truly need out and want the job done right, you should seriously consider using an outside expert, like me. Nobody sets out to become a euthanasia specialist. It's the sort of profession one might fall into after years of failure or apathy in more traditional fields, or after reading too much Nietzsche, or after carefully evaluating the global parking situation, or after witnessing an ailing loved one endure lasting physical and emotional suffering, or, as in my case, all of the above. Though it's not exactly accurate to say I fell into the profession. More precisely, it found me. Prior to my job that centers on cessation, I had one that centered on celebration. Fact is, I've never left the latter. I own a party supply store called Jubilee in Blackport, Oregon. We offer everything from tissue balls and bunting to rentable clowns and bouncy houses. I'll spare you the full list of products and services. Just know that if you ever need anything to help celebrate or commemorate a birthday, anniversary, graduation, homecoming, hiring, promotion, pregnancy, parole, bat mitzvah, bar exam, engagement, divorce, or Irish death, then you will almost certainly find it in our shop or catalog. I wasn't the original owner of Jubilee. Jubilee was my father's shop. I had intentionally spent the majority of my post-collegiate life far enough away from Blackport, such as to never be pressured into peddling plastic plates and Mylar balloons. It's not that I was ashamed of my father's line of work. I was merely ashamed of me doing it. I was an artist, after all, living free of any bourgeois 9-to-5 shackles and well on my way to making it as an assistant glassblower's apprentice in my late 20s. But biopsies have a way of changing plans. 4 years ago, when I was 29, my father was 56, he was diagnosed with stage 3 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. The chemo quickly wreaked havoc on the man, whose seemingly indefatigable vigor soon succumbed to daily bouts of diarrhea, nausea, and exhaustion. Pain seemed to emanate from his fingers and toes. His hair fell out in clumps. Radiation therapy left him with minor burns across his body. After just a few weeks of treatment, he looked like an angry, elderly skinhead who had fallen asleep in a tanning bed. Not a good look for a man who earned a good portion of his living persuading people with surnames like Goldberg and Horowitz to spring for the jumbo tent at their upcoming event. Thus I had been called on to lend a temporary hand at the shop while my father completed his initial treatment. 6 to 8 weeks, I was told. My parents viewed the whole arrangement as a win-win. They needed somebody familiar with the inner workings of the enterprise. I had worked there as a teenager during college breaks. And I, in their eyes, needed something to do that didn't involve me experimenting with molten sand while blitzed on whiskey. Not that I had to be strongly persuaded in helping out at the store. I am Jewish by blood and thus had enough hereditary guilt coursing through my veins to eliminate the need for any coercive words from external sources. My father was gravely ill and in need of support. End of story. I had no choice but to step in and make some sacrifices. Besides, it wasn't as if there was much to the life I was being asked to temporarily place on hold. I had been slowly spiraling spiraling socially and professionally for a few years, with no real prospects for money, love, or self-respect on the horizon. I had nothing resembling a career, everything resembling a drinking problem, and a string of short relationships that had ended in something resembling an Amtrak collision. Who better to run a shop called Jubilee? So that's Exit Man. And now we'll end with a little funnier book called Sick to Death, which is, of course. So when I was writing The Exit Man, this main character, he meets a lot of terminally ill people. Wow, it's really only good for reading. My character, the main character, met a lot of dying people. So I met a lot of dying people. In my mind, I decided in another book, these people who were dying were going to take a little bit of a different path. Instead of trying to end their lives, peacefully and going out, these people, well, you'll see, they take a little bit of a different approach. Sick to death. Everyone in the subway car gasped when the man with the shaved head slid off his seat and crumpled to the floor. Everyone except Gage. He just leaned back with his head resting against the window, tapping the ivory handle of his walnut walking cane. As the train rattled around a curve beneath the heart of Philly, Gage ignored the panicking commotion, keeping his eyes on the supine skinhead and on the woman who was now frantically administering CPR to bring him back into the world. The woman's rescue efforts were futile. Gage knew this. He knew there was no coming back from the 200 milligrams of sodium cyanide now coursing through the skinhead's body. How the cyanide made its way into the body? Well, Gage knew that too. And if all went well, he'd remain the only one who knew. And usually all went well. Gage was quite good at cyanide, and ricin, and arsenic. Unfortunately, Gage was also quite adept at gemcitabine, and oxaliplatin, and irinotecan. Unless you're an oncologist or the patient of one, you've probably never heard of those last three. Over the previous 6 months, there was only one thing Gage had become more efficient at than killing, and that was dying. But for now, let's keep things positive and focus on the former. The skinhead was the second person Gage had murdered in 3 weeks. It had been a slow month. Cue the sirens. Cue the stunned look on the crowd of passengers as the paramedic zipped the skinhead up in a black body bag, hoisted him onto an ambulance stretcher, and slowly rolled him into the 11th Street station elevator. Gage typically didn't wait around long enough to see the aftermath of his deeds, to watch the credits roll, but the police had asked those in the same train car as the dead man to stick around for questioning. "No, sir, I didn't see anybody touch the man," said Gage when questioned by one of the police officers. One minute he was boarding a subway train, taking his seat. The next he was lying on the floor, like he had an aneurysm or something. "Did the man have any verbal altercations with any of the other passengers before losing consciousness?" asked the police officer. "No," said Gage, "nothing like that. He was just sitting there, then suddenly checked out. Poor guy." Gage pulled the white handkerchief from his coat pocket and coughed into it several times. "Sorry about that," he said, tucking the handkerchief back into his pocket. "So will that be all, officer? I really have to get to my cancer support group meeting." "Oh, I'm very sorry," said the officer, looking closely at Gage and realizing how sickly he appeared. The gaunt face, the pale skin, the thinning brown hair. "I won't keep you any longer," the officer said, "and good luck to you, sir." "Thank you," said Gage. "But my luck ran out a while ago." The officer gave Gage a sad and sympathetic smile before walking them off to question one of the other passengers. With the help of his cane, Gage hobbled over to the subway escalator and rode it up to street level. He didn't need the hobble. It was more for effect. People tended to pity hobblers and rarely suspected them of homicide. As for the cane, this Gage needed. You've heard of a concealed weapon. This was a concealing one. Gage stepped off the escalator and onto the sidewalk of Market Street. It was a chilly 2-block walk to the church, the one he'd been going to for about 5 months. Before he'd gotten sick, Gage rarely went anywhere near a house of worship, except for the odd wedding or funeral. Now, it was a weekly occurrence. Every Thursday evening at 7 at St. Michael's Episcopal Church. No, he hadn't found religion. He'd simply found a group for dead people, and it happened to be in a church. And if they had upped and moved the meeting to a synagogue or a mosque or a slaughterhouse, Gage wouldn't have cared less. As long as it didn't require an extra subway transfer, and as long as his fellow dying executioners, Ellison and Jenna, continued to show up. I'm going to skip to one little later section. So that's Gage's life. And then unfortunately for Gage, he starts to get healthy. Learning he might not be dying really threw a wrench into Gage's plans. He didn't see how he could go on killing if there was a chance he'd go on living. Once longevity reared its head, it awakened fears of handcuffs, prosecuting attorneys, orange jumpsuits, and years upon years of nervous showering. Of course, Gage realized there was a chance he'd never get caught for his past crimes. This frightened him even more, because assuming he went straight, he'd be going back up against everyday life, mortgage payments, electric bills, office parties, online dating, the things nightmares are made of. Once you become a terminally ill vigilante assassin, it's very difficult to resume a normal routine. Still, choose life was a very compelling slogan. It had seeped into Gage's bloodstream, prompting his decision to take an indefinite hiatus from serving cyanide to the city's vermin. Instead, at the urging of Dr. Abrams, he'd resumed pumping himself full of a couple different poisons intended to keep him alive. This time, however, Gage insisted on supplementing the chemo with many of the alternative treatment methods Dr. Abrams had mentioned in passing, the kind that made the AMA and the pharmaceutical industry flaccid. Naturally, the news of Gage's retreating cancer put his family and friends over the moon. "I don't know exactly what you've been doing," said a choked up Max after Gage shared the news at the Sunday's dinner. "But keep it up, bro." Beth said nothing. She just cried tears of hope and joy all over the watercress salad. Sully and Jack, in typical Sully and Jack fashion, each gave Gage a big bro hug, patted him on the back, and said, "F yeah," and resumed drinking. They did the same thing whenever their favorite sports team won, but this time the hug and the sentiment came with a little more intensity, as did the drinking. Winnie. Gage decided to wait to share the news with her. He liked the kind and supportive text messages she'd been sending him since he'd gotten sick, and he didn't want to risk spoiling things by informing her that he might survive. And then there were Jenna and Ellison. Gage told them he felt too ill to carry out his next scheduled hit. He was just biding time until he could let them know the truth in person at the meeting that Thursday. That he needed to take a leave of absence due to his improving health. "That's incredible," said Jenna, hearing the news. "Wow," said Ellison, "you must be very excited." It was a sort of feigned elation aspiring actors show upon learning one of the members of their weekly workshop has landed a big role. And who could blame them? The dead like their friends to stay dead. It's human nature. Metastasis loves company. Gage explained to them he'd still be attending the group meetings, but would need to cease poisoning people, at least for the time being. He could see the disappointment in Jenna and Ellison's eyes. "Who knows," said Gage. "Maybe the cancer will come back in full force, and I'll be right back up there where I left off with you guys." But Jenna and Ellison could tell he was just saying that for their benefit. They knew Gage was secretly hoping he'd continue to get better. That's it today.
Do you have any questions for Greg?
Questions? I didn't plant any.
You didn't plant.
I'm out of control. Oh, yeah. Oh, the lady in the back. Actually, you know what? We'll let her ask first, because I'm related to the other one. Yes?
Is that real, that people are assassins for terminal?
So you mean the exit man people who actually like do secret?
In the first story.
Yeah, the first story. Who knows? If you're doing it well enough. It's not something I based on any kind of true thing.
Okay.
You know, there are just physician-assisted suicide in some states, but it's very formal, and you have to get family. Your family knows about it, and it's very for this. So I thought, what about people who just don't? Because suicide's it's not something that a lot of families, especially religious families or whatever reasons, they don't want. People are going to try to talk you out of it. So this guy, helium, I did do a lot of research. Helium actually is a, well, I don't know the mindset of people go, I don't want to encourage anybody who might be on the outs, but helium, nitrogen, if you have a continuous supply, working at a party supply store, he has lots of helium tanks. It is a very peaceful way to go out, do it right, and I like the idea of a third party being able to clean up everything, and who's going to question somebody who's already expected to die. No one's going to question that, and helium doesn't show up in autopsy reports. So the autopsy would have to be done within 20 minutes of the person passing away, which never happens. It just dissipates. So, yeah.
How did you come up with that idea? I mean, I think it's a good idea.
Well, I'm an author and as most a fiction writer, and I don't know any fiction writer who at one point or another wasn't like, oh, I just end it all. Because books aren't selling, whatever, it's hard to get published. No, one day I was just kind of thinking, what's the least invasive way to end your life? Like where it's not messy for anybody to clean up, you're not endangering anybody with like gas escaping Sylvia Plath. You're not, it's not a mess. It's not putting anybody else at risk. You're not the person himself is not suffering. And I just did a whole bunch of research and didn't get contacted by the FBI or and yeah, I was really excited with the story. I just kind of started, and so yeah, I don't think there may be people out there doing it, but this guy's still running. Well, I won't spoil it for you.
Is your first book was in Oregon, you said?
Yeah, I think I
know they passed a referendum on physician-assisted suicide.
They did. It's weird that I chose Oregon because I actually had never been there. My first novel, which we will talk about, because it was very much a first novel. This is my second. It was all on the East Coast. I wanted to go on the West Coast, and I said in Oregon. I found out about it later on, but I thought, you know what, it doesn't really change things because, again, people who want physician-assisted suicide, they just want a legal way out, and they don't mind everybody knowing. This guy, if you're using Eli, it's you're found in your bed, you're found on a couch, you're found at home on a floor, and nobody's questioning it. So it's, yeah.
Did you have any opposition from the Catholic Church?
No, they don't talk to you that much. I'm sure they don't. I was very surprised that I did not get any angry email. In fact, the opposite happened. I had an email, not just Catholics, just people in general. People were like, hey, because I never make light of terminally ill people in either of these books. I never make light of dying or death. It's the situation. It's a guy who works in a party supply store who also, by day he's selling party tents, and then on his free time he's helping people die. That's really where the humor comes in. It's not, the story is more, I didn't go just for jokes, as you can tell. Just a little bit of laugh here and there, but the story is compelling. I had a woman email me and say, and I got nervous because it started off with, I lost, my mother fell down some stairs a few years ago. She was a very active woman, used to roller skate everywhere. She's like 65 years old, roller skating and rollerblading. And she was just basically crippled and couldn't do anything. And I just watched, she didn't have any advance directives. She was kind of in a coma. I got in a big argument with my family. Let's just pull the plug and all that sort of stuff. And she was like, this book just, I loved it. So at first I was like, oh gosh. Yeah, I was nervous, but I actually ended up posting her letter to me as a blog, in my blog post, with her permission, saying, I'd love to share this because what she wrote was beautiful, like what she wished, not saying that she wished she could have ended her mom's life, it's just the suffering that goes with people who are terminally ill. So, the book, it is deemed a dark comedy, but I would say it's more, it's just more of a dark contemporary fiction with some humor to it. But no, I haven't heard. Maybe if it gets made by Showtime, then the church will come calling.
You'll have an outcry.
Yeah, they'll have an outcry maybe.
And I'm a therapist, and we deal with this all the time. And boy, it's been very conservative Catholics. That's not the way to go. That's against God.
Oh yeah.
Order. And boy, I'll tell you, there's some real lunatics out there.
Well, there's a character in the book who Gage approaches because she's talking about her mother dying, and he's like, oh, and she's just a regular party supply store client, and he kind of feels around. So he spends most of his time in terminally ill support groups, kind of looking for clients. And he thinks he has one, and she just goes berserk on it because she is a religious person. So I definitely touch on that in this book. I mean, he has to be really careful. He looks at the crosses. He does not ever touch on it yet. It's not like everybody's cool with suicide. So it's a good question. And did it make, I mean, did it make you angry being someone who like deals with, I'm not sure if you're religious, but you're something.
No, I'm not religious at all.
But you deal with
I
people.
have to deal with it in counseling,
Yeah.
death and dying. Did you ever read Kubler-Ross' book, Death and Dying?
Yeah, in ninth grade, the 5 stages of
The
grief.
5 stages.
Yeah, I remember the psychology class I had to read it in. But yeah, it's I don't want to say I'm welcoming the outcry. It's never bad for an author to get an outcry.
It's great publicity.
Look what happened to Franson when he told Oprah to go after herself. Sorry. Yes, young lady in the middle back row. Who looks surprised has my nose and mouth.
All right, have you ever based a character off someone you don't like and then killed that character?
It's so funny. In this book, in Sick to Death, there was I've never been bullied. I've never been bullied. I was small. I was small and stats, but I did sports growing up, so I was always like had some friends. There's this one guy who's just, I mean, I'll say his name. He's probably in prison. His name's Ron Vasiloff, and he was just, I wasn't bullied, but I was, he just gave me a hard time. He was definitely showed promising signs of anti-Semitism, you know, probably definitely voted, I mean, maybe campaigned for Trump. Trump is the least anti-Semitic person you'll ever meet. How could I have said that? But, so I named this guy Dan Vassenhoff. Ron Vasiloff and Dan Vassenhoff. I'm not worried because, like I said, he's either in prison or can't read. So that should be all right. But yeah, that's a good question. I did not answer that.
Yes. So why death? Like,
No.
This is a clear theme you have going here. What draws you to write fiction? You know, it puts a definite end to your story, for instance. You kind of see that people are.
Yeah. But not the protagonist necessarily.
True.
It's a good question. This one so I never thought, oh, I'm gonna write a series of novels, turn it on, because who doesn't want to read about that? Everybody dies, and I just thought it's something which you've got to come across at some point in your life. And the party supply store, the exit man story, it just ended in my brain. I don't even know. I really don't know exactly how it happened. It just and it kind of wrote itself, as you can tell by some of the text. So that I wrote, and then I was thinking about my next book, and I had several ideas, and I feel like I spent so much time with these characters and I fell in love with them. I mean, you'll cry in this book too. You know, it's a dark comedy, but there's times where, you know, Eli just has to distance himself emotionally, and I just thought, you know, they have nothing to lose, you know, so maybe these characters are like weak and frail, and they just kind of want out. What about people there's no prognosis that's positive, there's almost no way they're going to get better. They're just like there's a pedophile, and they just want to take out the bad. These people aren't like killing people they don't like, not killing people because they're parking space. I just kind of, yeah, like you said, there's a definite end line. It's something we're the only beings who are conscious of our death, are conscious of our impending, inevitable, finally you're all going to die. In case you didn't know, in case you before tonight. And it's like, what do you got to lose, you know?
Yeah.
So but I did try to give them a moral compass, otherwise you just go berserk.
Right.
It's kind of like Dexter meets Dr.
I was going to say, were you inspired by Dexter?
I do love the story of Dexter. Like one season was really well done.
Yeah.
It got I would love to see Dexter in the hands of people who made Breaking Bad. You know, it's a little better, not so cheesy kind of stuff. So.
Well, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
It was great.